Welcome back to the online learning platform at Department of Civil Engineering, BMS Institute of Technology and Management. I'm Dr. Rajesh Gopinath and we are discussing the course Water Supply and Treatment Engineering. Last class we had spoken about theory of filtration, and if you could kindly recollect as visible in slide 3, these are the indications of the different mechanisms by which filtration was accomplished. I believe that you can identify the actions with respect to biological metabolisms, mechanical straining, sedimentation, and electrostatic action. In today's class, we will be discussing about slow sand filters. As you can see in slide 4, after the preliminary and primary treatment and before the water is sent for disinfection, one of the most important treatments that the water has to undergo is the filtration. Slow sand filters in this context. Slide 5. Today's presentation is distributed in the following manner. After a brief introduction, we shall be discussing about the construction of a typical slow sand filter before we move on to the working principle. Okay, its performance, its operation, maintenance issues, its advantages and limitations before summarizing the presentation. Finally, the references which has been used by me have been listed for your further perusal. Slide 6. Slow sand filters were first used in Scotland in 1804. However, its wide application was in the year 1829 to filter the municipal water of London. Since then, the slow sand filters have been extremely effective in order to curb the waterborne diseases. In 1850, there was a critical link which was established between the cholera and the drinking water. Slow sand filters were extremely effective and useful in removing all these pathogens. Since then, the application of slow sand filter has grown to remove not just the viruses, the bacteria, but also the protozoans. However, it was also observed that there were certain species, for instance, Cryptosporidium, which could not be removed by the slow sand filters. Presently today, those slow sand filters have a very simple principle of operation. They are no longer in use. They are currently obsolete. They have been replaced with rapid sand filters in the context of filtering municipal water supply. Let's move on to the next slide, which gives you a simple representation of its construction features. That is slide 7. The slow sand filter, as can be seen from this slide, the different parts of its construction includes the enclosure tank, which is basically the open basin that you can see. It has the under drainage system, which is responsible for collecting the filtered water. It also has the filter media, that is obvious. Below the filter media, it comprises the base media. It also has an inlet and outlet arrangement, and it also comprises of certain appurtenances. When you speak about the enclosure tank, we are actually looking at a rectangular tank which is watertight and is open to atmosphere. Mostly it is made up of cement, concrete or masonry. The bed is sloped in 1 in 100 towards the central drain. The depth of these tanks is usually 2.5 to 3.5 meters, and the general plan area of this is about 100 to 2000 meters square or more. The filter media, that is the sand, okay, the thickness or the depth of laying it is generally 90 to 110 centimeters. and as you know, it is laid over the base media, which is gravel. Okay. The effective size for this filter media is about 0.20 to 0.30 millimeters, and the uniformity coefficient is about 2 to 3. Moving on to the base media, as I said, gravel. Now, the gravel has a depth or a thickness of about 30 to 75 centimeters, and they are generally laid in layers of 15 centimeters each. When you observe, or when you actually look at the gradation of the base media, you will find that the topmost layer has the smallest size gravel, and as you keep coming down, the size of the gravel increases. Let me be more precise. The first, if we are looking at a depth of 60 centimeters, okay, and we divide this into 4 layers of 15 centimeters each, then the first 15 centimeters, that is the topmost layer, the size of the gravel will be 3 to 6 mm. Subsequently below that, 6 to 20 mm. The one below that, 20 to 40 mm. And eventually the bottommost layer will be 40 to 65 mm. The under drainage system is what we are going to discuss further. Under drainage system can be of different. The under drainage system basically comprises of 2 essential utilities. One is the main drain, and the other are the laterals. Laterals are those pipelines which receives the filtered water from each filter bed, and then these laterals transport the filtered water into the main drain, and from the main drain the water or the filtered water goes to the outlet. Generally, these lateral drains are basically perforated pipes which are placed at a distance of 2.5 to 3.5 meters. Okay, and what we need to understand here is we can have different models or types of drainage system. Let's move on to understand the inlet and outlet arrangements. Basically, the inlet and outlet arrangements will comprise of a flow meter, a head loss gauge, adjustable telescope tube, and a vertical air pipe through the layer of sand. Now, let's move on to slide 8. So basically, whatever I had spoken now, let us recap. As I told you, enclosure tanks, these are those tanks which are open to atmosphere, rectangular in shape, made up of cement concrete. They are watertight, okay, they have a depth which extends up to 3.5 meters, and the surface area is about 100 to 2000 meters square, okay, and the bed slopes 1 in 100 towards the central drains. Also, as described before, the information pertaining to base material, that is gravel, and the filter media has been described. Kindly make a note, both the filter media and the base media themselves should not be containing or carrying any form of impurity. They must be free from all forms of impurity such as silt, organic matter, dust, clay and loam, etc. Let's move on to slide 9. So slide 9 recaps or presents in textual format the information with respect to the under drainage and the appurtenances. What is interesting here is, as I told you, the base media contains the gravel with size increasing from top to bottom. Okay? In the context of slow sand filters, even the filter media has the same gradation, which means the filter sand, as you move from the topmost layer to the bottommost layer, the size of the filter sand also increases. Now, this is so because the water which enters slow sand filter, okay, has to come without passing through coagulation. In case the water after sedimentation goes to coagulation and then enters slow sand filter, the filter will get clogged immediately. Therefore, please remember, Slow sand filters do not allow water to enter which has passed through coagulation. However, they must ensure that the water has passed through sedimentation and only then it enters the slow sand filters. Let us now move on to slide 10. This is a very simple diagram to enable better understanding of how a slow sand filter functions. Slow sand filter in this case is perhaps the most simplest among all other filters. As you can see, it has only two valves, the inlet valve and the outlet valve. Inlet valve is which permits the raw water which needs to be filtered, okay, and outlet valve is the one which delivers or takes out the water which has been filtered. As you can see, it contains, your filter does contain the under drains, okay, it contains the base media, contains the filter media and so forth. So how exactly does a filter work? Basically what happens here is the water which has come from sedimentation enters through A, that is valve A, into the inlet chamber. When it falls into the inlet chamber, it then starts rising, and when it starts rising, the first level of removal of solids takes place. As you can understand, as the water which has fallen down and is beginning to rise gradually, all those impurities which can settle will get removed here itself. From the inlet chamber, then this overflow of water enters into the main chamber, okay, that is the filter chamber. It is this filter chamber which comprises of your filter media, below it the base media, and below it the under drains. Now, in slow sand filter, the filtration is basically a combination of two mechanisms. One is your mechanical straining and the other is your biological action. So basically what happens is, this uncoagulated water, as it gradually falls over the filter media, due to a combination of these two mechanisms, gets filtered and the water passes through the filter media. It then passes through the base and then enters the drains. I shall repeat once again. The simplest operation possible in any filter is in the context of slow sand filters. The water which has come from sedimentation enters inlet chamber through valve A. Here, the water gradually rises, allowing settlable solids to settle down, and then the overflow enters the second chamber, which is the actual filter, so also called as the filter chamber. The water here first falls on the filter media and then passes through the filter media to base media. From the base media, it enters the under drains. From the under drains, it then enters the outlet chamber and goes out. So when it is getting filtered from the sand to the base due to biological action, okay, that is the action of algae and microorganisms on the waste matter, and due to mechanical straining, the impurities are removed. So this is the basic operation or working of a slow sand filter. Let us move on to the next slide, slide 11. Now that we have understood how a slow sand filter functions, let's try to understand how its cleaning operation takes place. Basically, the entire process of cleaning a slow sand filter takes about 20 to 40 days, which means the entire unit is not available for you to be served. Therefore, it is imperative that when a slow sand filter is being cleaned, you need to have a standby which does its function. During the cleaning of a slow sand filter, the first thing you need to do is you must close valve A and valve B, which means neither the raw water enters and there is no scope for any water to go out. Under this present circumstance, wherein all the water has been drained out, the next step is to mechanically or manually scrape the top layer of the filter bed. After this is done, a new layer of filter bed that is, a new layer has to be placed over your filter media. Okay, once this is done, you need to slowly open again valve A. So what happens is the raw water once again enters from sedimentation, enters the inlet chamber, rises, falls into the filter bed gradually, and then it starts filling up the entire chamber. As the water passes through sand to gravel into lateral, it goes on filling until it reaches valve B. Okay, by doing this, we accomplish the fact that it has completely removed air and that there is no air trapped anywhere in the filter chamber or in the laterals or in the main drain. Once this is done, once we have achieved a desired head, that is a filter head, you need to close valve A. This setup should remain for the next 12 hours. After 12 hours, the valve A and valve B is opened in such a manner that the rate of filtration is 1/5 of the normal operation. This shall continue for the next 12 to 15 hours, and this enables the formation of dry skin. For the next 3 to 4 days, the filter has to be opened to function in a manner that it runs for 1/3 of the normal. This is very important because this supports the formation of the dirty skin over sand. As I told you before, the functioning of the slow sand filter is a combination of mechanical straining and the formation of dirty skin, which is biological metabolism. So after these operations have been done, which is 12 hours, again the next 12 to 15 hours, and the next 3 to 4 days, okay? So you may say that this total process of 5 days, okay, after this, you have to make sure that the rate is normalized. Please note that the water which is coming out immediately after filtration should not be used for drinking purposes or be sent for disinfection because it may still contain impurities. Now let's move on to the performance, that is slide 13. The advantage of slow sand filter is that it can remove about 98 to 99% of microorganisms, that is bacteria. However, its efficiency reduces when it comes to color and can only remove 20 to 25% color. Its removal of parasites is assumed to be as great as 100%. In fact, even the virus removal of slow sand filter is considered to be as good as 98 to 99%. Slow sand filters are capable of removing turbidity up to 50 ppm. Okay. Now, we may conclude or summarize from this that while slow sand filters are doing a great job in removing bacteria, viruses, parasites, on the downward side, it is not efficient in removal of color, odor or turbidity. Let's move on to slide 14, the operational and maintenance aspects. As I told you, cleaning of slow sand filter is a 20 to 30 day process, sometimes 40 days. So the period of cleaning for a typical slow sand filter is usually 1 to 3 months, which means once in every 3 months you need to clean the filter. Okay. Now, to recap, the cleaning may be manual or automatic when it comes to scraping the top layer. Also, as mentioned in slide 15, as I have insisted several times during the operation, the water which enters slow sand filter should come directly from a sedimentation tank and not from a coagulation unit. We should also ensure that the depth of water over the filter media is neither too high or too less, and it is most preferred to be 750 millimeters. Let's move further to slide 15, wherein we shall recap the advantages and disadvantages. So by now you are well versed with the advantages. It is very good in terms of removal of bacteria, viruses and parasites. It's also capable of removing non-colloidal suspendable particles. It has a very simple construction. It can be used or operated by a person with minimum skills. Okay, even the training that you need to impart is not of high level. Okay, however, the disadvantages which follow are, it has a requirement that you need to provide a low flow rate. Obviously, even the rate of filtration is also very less. And as I discussed before, it is not capable of removing color, taste or odor. And it has a limited ability when it comes to removal of the colloidal sized particles. Most importantly, the size which is occupied or the space which is occupied by a slow sand filter is very huge, which means it requires large amount of land. Now, let's move on to slide 16. Let us summarize. Slow sand filters since 18th century has been serving the society in providing potable water quality. However, since the 1990s, slow sand filters have not been used further for its limitations and also because it has been replaced by rapid sand filters. Slide 17. These are few of the references that I have followed, and I would request each one of you also to go through these and enhance your knowledge upon the concept of slow sand filters. Slide 18, we shall be discussing rapid sand filter in the next class. Slide 19, I once again thank each one of you for your patient hearing. This is Rajesh Gopinath signing off. Godspeed, take care.